question is this: are you a rhino or a hedgehog? Are you a rhino or a hedgehog? So what I'm talking about is how you deal with conflict and anger. So rhinos explode. It's all out there. It's all, you can see that they are upset. And full confession, firstly, hello, my name is Marcus. I'm the vicar, and a very warm welcome to all of you. My wife and I have permission to share this, we are both rhinos. So doors get slammed, voices are raised, but the good thing about it is it's over quickly. And after about 20 minutes, we look at each other and say, do you fancy a coffee? Well, yeah, come on, let's go for a coffee. Or are you a hedgehog? Hedgehogs, withdraw, upset, kind of disconnect slightly. They don't quite make the eye contact that you're thinking. That's my question today. And yes, you're right, it is audience participation time. So very warm welcome to the friends and family of Oscar. It's great to see you. We're all in this. I've told you where I am. So are you ready? Are you ready? I'd love to see if you think... Now, before I do this, I know some of you are like, I'm neither a rhino or a hedgehog. I'm a fox. I know you're probably thinking there's another category, but just go with me on this. Are you more a rhino or more a hedgehog? Let's have a look. So, are you ready? If you are a rhino, I'm going to ask you a moment, are you a rhino? Put your hand up. Got a few rhinos in the room. Great. Shall we hang out later and shout at each other? We can slam a few doors together. Have we got any hedgehogs? Any hedgehogs? You know what? I think the hedgehogs win it. The hedgehogs win it, I think. So, yes, today we are talking about this question, how to deal with anger. How do we deal with our anger, whether we are a rhino or a hedgehog? And the subtitle is this: you need to master your anger, or your anger will master you. That's the contention today, that you need to master your anger, or your anger will master you. And speaking of the master, the great master, Jesus himself preached the most famous sermon of all time, called the Sermon on the Mount. And it can be found in a couple of places, but in Matthew's Gospel between chapters 5 and chapter 7. And in this sermon, Jesus addresses different topics, but he addresses anger. But he starts like this. He said, "You've heard it said to the people long ago, you shall not murder. And anyone who murders will be subject to judgment." Jesus here is referring to the 10 Commandments. Do you remember the 10 Commandments? Yeah, one of them, do not murder. The thing is, Jesus goes further than that. He doesn't say just do not murder, he goes on. But I tell you that anyone who is angry with a brother or sister will be subject to judgment. Again, anyone who says to a brother or sister, racha, which I think means something a bit like a swear word, I don't know, is answerable to the court. And anyone who says you fool will be in danger of the fire of hell. What Jesus is saying here is there's actually a continuum. There's actually a continuum. You might think, oh, I'm not a murderer, Marcus. I'm part of your lovely congregation here today. I'm here to support Oscar. But actually what Jesus is saying is where murder starts is actually in the heart. It actually starts with anger. And actually, the fullest extent of anger is destruction. Just picture that moment, if you live in London, when you're about to go through the barriers at the tube station and someone hasn't yet got their contactless card out. How do you feel in that moment? You want to kill them, don't you? Or the person who on public transport decides that their conversation needs to be had on speakerphone so that everyone can hear it really loudly. And if we're being honest, there's a little moment where we wish they would kind of evaporate. We might not admit it, but it's true. And so what Jesus is getting at here is, you might think, oh yeah, I'm not the murdering type, that's not me. But he's saying, no, it goes deeper than that. The problem is actually in the human heart. The problem starts with anger. And if we don't master our anger will master us. And so today, I want to share 3 ways that we can master our anger, all based on Jesus' teachings. And the first is this: go fast. When you feel angry, go fast. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is think to yourself, what's really happening here? Because what Jesus says is this: you've got to work out your anger quickly. You've got to work out what's going on. He says in the Sermon on the Mount, therefore, if you are offering your gift at the altar and there remember that your brother or sister has something against you, leave your gift there in front of the altar. First go and be reconciled to them, then come and offer your gift. Settle matters quickly with your adversary who is taking you to court. Truly I tell you, you will not get out until you've paid the last penny. He's saying, if you're angry or someone's angry with you, move fast to sort out what on earth is going on. And the reason for that is that anger itself is not the issue, per se. Anger is a warning sign. It's like on the dashboard of the car, when you see a light come on, it tells you something's wrong. The problem isn't with the light. The light's working really well. That light is indicating that there's another problem going on. And so when we feel angry, actually the question is, what's underneath this anger? Move fast to diagnose what is going on underneath the anger. And there typically are 3 causes, 3 reasons why we feel angry. The first is unmet needs. Does anyone here ever get hangry? Hangry. Hangry is when you're angry because you're hungry. Anyone get hangry? I had a situation this week with my beloved team here at Ascension. I was in a meeting, and I must say, they were all idiots. I mean, proper idiots. I mean, what on earth were they thinking, the suggestions they were coming up with? And then I had lunch, and I realized I was the idiot. And actually, they were firing on all cylinders. It's just, I needed something to eat. Yesterday, in a similar vein, I kind of felt a bit, I don't know, I need to finish my sermon, I need to do various things, but something's not quite right. And I went for a swim. Anyone like swimming? Is it just me? Anyone like exercise? Actually, if I'm being honest, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. But afterwards, I just felt great. I didn't feel as angsty or as angry, let's say. So one reason we sometimes feel angry is because of unmet needs. A second reason is because of unmet expectations. When we think something should happen, but it doesn't happen. I have been frequenting the same curry house in Balham for 12 years. It's called the Indian Room. It's got a 5-star rating on TripAdvisor, and most of those ratings are from me. And it's absolutely brilliant. And when I go there, one of the things that I just absolutely love is at the end of the meal, I get a little chocolate. They give me a little chocolate. It's in a little foil wrapper. I think it might cost less than 1 pence per chocolate. But I love my little chocolate at the end of the meal. And there was a time when I went and I didn't get the chocolate. And I left and I was walking home and I thought, wasn't as good tonight. Wasn't as good. The chicken wasn't quite as good as normal. The spicing wasn't quite as normal. And what I realized was, it was none of that. It's that my expectation around that little chocolate hadn't been met. And I felt a little bit angry. And then once I realized what was going on, I felt a little bit silly. Why am I angry about little? Oh, come on. It's not a big deal. And so, actually, that helped release me from the anger, was that's what's going on. So we move fast to work out what's going on. The third thing that sometimes is going on is hurt. We feel hurt. Maybe our pride is hurt. Maybe our reputation is hurt. Maybe we feel physically hurt by someone. These are all reasons that can make us feel angry. Anyone been in a meeting where someone says something and you think, oh, ouch. Bit of a cheap shot, that. and then you feel angry. But what it is you actually feel hurt. So the first thing we do is, if there's anger happening, we'll deal with working out what is going on quickly. We go fast. But after going fast, we need to go slow. We need to go slow. Once we've diagnosed what's really going on, we need to go slow. And this is from Psalm 103, verse 8 in the Bible. It says this about God: "The Lord is compassionate and gracious, slow to anger, abounding in love." So once we've diagnosed the issue, we go slow. We go really slow. I remember someone once saying this. They said, let the emotions subside before you decide. Just let the emotions subside before you decide. And on this visual, there's a little molehill in the foreground and a mountain in the background. And when something happens that makes you feel angry, when it's just happened, it's just here, because it's just happened. And if I look at my hand right now, it's pretty big. It's right next to me. But over time, as you move a few days away from it, you realize, oh, that's not as big. What I thought was a mountain is actually a molehill. I need to actually go slow. Let the emotion subside before you decide. Because God is slow to anger. And so, if I'm following God, it'd be good for me to be slow to anger. Something else I found helpful: Abraham Lincoln, former president of the United States, he had someone working for him called Secretary Stanton. And one of the officers had been extremely rude to Secretary Stanton. And Secretary Stanton said to Abraham Lincoln, "What should I do?" He said, "Write him a letter and cut him to pieces. Cut him to pieces in the letter." So he wrote the letter. He came back and he said to Abraham Lincoln, "I've written the letter. Do you want to send it or should I send it?" Abraham Lincoln said, "Oh, no, you don't send the letter. No, you don't send the letter. You just write the letter. It's a way of slowing down and letting it out." So we go fast to diagnose what's underneath our anger. We go slow because God is slow to anger. But finally, we go big. The problem for many of us is that we're getting angry about the wrong things. We're getting angry about 20-mile-per-hour zones. We're getting angry about the Wi-Fi reception on LNER trains. When you're trying to do something and there's no Wi-Fi. We get angry about that seat in the corner in Pret that was available when I was ordering my coffee. But now I've got my coffee, someone's taken it. And actually, there is such a thing as righteous anger. And this still comes under the title of master your anger because Jesus at times was righteously angry. And actually, maybe our anger needs to be about bigger things, things that really matter. Maybe we should be getting righteously angry about things that are happening, where we can take action in a very practical way. This is Scott Harrison. He is the chief executive of Water, the charity that has saved millions of lives by bringing clean water to people around the world. And I heard Scott speak when I was on sabbatical. And Scott shared some of his life story, that he used to get upset and angry about all sorts of things. He was a nightclub promoter in New York, and he was angry that he hadn't quite reached the level of income he wanted. He was sort of a bit upset that he didn't quite have the influence that he felt he deserved. And then one day he went to West Africa and he saw how poor people were dying because of poor quality tap water. And he could see it was solvable. And instead of being angry with people, he decided to be angry about the issue. And he founded Water, the charity, and it has changed millions of lives. Maybe it's time to upgrade our anger. Maybe we waste energy getting angry about 20-mile-per-hour zones, dropped Wi-Fi. And instead, maybe we harness that energy for things that break God's heart: injustice, poverty, suffering. In the book of Ephesians in the Bible, it says this: in your anger, do not sin. In other words, correctly focused and harnessed, actually there is a place for righteous anger that's not aimed at people, but aimed at resolving situations that are unjust. Maybe that is the challenge for some of us today. So we go fast to diagnose what's really going on. We go slow so that we can be loving in the way we respond, because God is slow to anger. And then we go big. If we're going to be angry, let's be angry about things that matter. Let's make a dent in the universe. Let's do something significant. But actually, my final top tip, I feel, is probably the most important of them all, which is Oscar. Oscar, who got baptized this morning. It's to do an Oscar. What did Oscar do this morning? Oscar, through his parents, came to Jesus. Oscar came to Jesus. Through his parents and godparents, Oscar said, Jesus, I want to come to you. I want to be with you. I want to be on your team. I want to follow you. And actually, this is the biggest thing we can do to deal with our anger. Because what is anger? Anger really is a response to pain. It's a secondary emotion. It's a response to pain. And I've met people because of what I do. And at one point in my life, I was this person with unresolved pain. And many of us have been on the receiving end of pain. Maybe that pain is linked to expectations that haven't met. We thought by this stage in life, we should have achieved this or be this. Maybe it is hurts. Maybe growing up, there were various hurts that have just not been resolved. And we wonder why our wick, why our fuse is so short. And it's because actually, underlying this anger is unresolved pain. And then there's those of us who also are aware of the pain that we've caused, that we're not perfect, that actually we ourselves have inflicted pain on others at times. And all of these things, the Christian faith gives a word to: sin. And they are things that get in the way of our relationship with ourselves, with one another, and with God. And so, yes, go fast to diagnose. Yes, go slow. And yes, go big. But actually, go to Jesus. Because I've seen people, and I've ministered to people who have said, yes, I need Jesus. I can't carry this anymore. If you want to take my pain, my anger, the things I've done, the things that have been done to me, there is only one person, I believe, who can take that, and that is Jesus, because he took it on the cross. He took all the pain and the sorrow, and he made it his very own. But he didn't just do that. He rose again, so that we might have life and freedom. Baptism kind of mirrors that. You go down into the water, which is like saying, I need your help. Save me from the pain I've inflicted on myself and has been inflicted on others. But then little Oscar comes out of the water, and it's that sense of, I am now free because of what Jesus has done for me. And so that is the invitation today. Yes, take some top tips from the Sermon on the Mount. They're really good. Definitely go fast, go slow, go big. But the real big invitation is this: go to Jesus. Amen.